Oh good, you're finally awake. Dragons have returned to Tamriel, and they're not just coming back, they're coming back to life. This time, however, I think we're going to side with them just for the hell of it. Tarkir Dragonstorm introduced us to a ton of new cards, namely an entire storm of new dragons. So the leader of this deck is going to be a classic dragon, Scion of the Dragon to be precise. This 5-colored, 5-mana dragon avatar might as well be Akatosh himself, as I consider him to be one of the best options for dragon-themed commander decks. For 2 mana, we can send a dragon permanent from our library to the graveyard, and if we do, we can make Scion of the Dragon a copy of that card until the end of turn. This can be done on any player's turn, and for only 2 mana of any colors, this is a solid ability. The goal of this deck is to send dragon creatures to the graveyard and then reanimate them to the battlefield. Our primary win condition in this deck is Call of the Spirit Dragons, a new card from Tarkir Dragonstorm. This 5-mana enchantment gives our dragons indestructible, and at the beginning of our upkeep, for each color, we put a +1/+1 counter onto a dragon we control of that color. Finally, if we put a +1/+1 counter onto 5 dragons this way, we win the game. This works best by having dragon creatures in every color and having multiple combinations of colors available. See, dragon creatures are naturally big creatures, and often have a very high mana value. So by combining reanimation tactics with a variety of flavors of dragon, we are going to set us up to get this game plan off quickly. Of our 28 creatures, only 13 of them are dragons, not counting Scion. Bone Devourer enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of creatures that have died this turn. It also has Flash, and so it can become a great follow-up to a Wrath effect or a brutal combat step. When it dies, we draw cards and lose life equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on it. Hammerhead Tyrant is a 6-mana 6/6 that has an ability that triggers whenever we cast a spell. When we do, we return up to 1 target non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to the mana value of our cast spell to its owner's hand. Note, this is a trigger on cast, so we can use our spells as makeshift removal. Magmatic Hellkite is a 4-mana 4/5. When it enters, we destroy a target non-basic land an opponent controls. Its controller then tutors for a basic land, and it enters tapped with a stun counter on it. This dragon acts as a very solid land destruction card, as the stun counter will keep that land tapped down during its controller's next untap step. This can be used to great effect, getting rid of powerful dual lands or utility lands, and then the opponent is stuck with a basic land that they can't even use for a turn. Scavenger Regent has an Omen ability. For X and 2 black, you can give each non-dragon -X/-X until the end of turn. If you choose to use the Omen part of this card, after resolution, you shuffle this card back into your library. If you choose the creature side, you get a 4-mana 4/4 with flying and a ward cost requiring the discard of a card. This is a solid board wipe that won't affect us, and a solid body that isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Clarion Conqueror is a 3-mana creature that is likely the strongest of the newer dragon cards. While it's in play, the activated abilities of artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers cannot be activated. It does turn off the activated ability of our commander, but it is also a great option to pitch with Scion should we need to turn off the board for a turn. These 3 card types being neutered will give us a great opportunity to get in for lethal. Parapet Thrasher is a 4-mana that has a combat trigger. Whenever 1 or more dragons we control deal combat damage to a player, we can choose one of the following modes that have not yet been chosen this turn. We can destroy a target artifact an opponent controls. This creature can deal 4 damage to each other opponent. Or, we exile the top card of our library and we may play that card this turn. The third ability is perhaps the most relevant, as it gives us some impulsive card draw, and it allowing us to play the card also permits lands to be utilized should they be among the exiled. Miriam, Sentinel Worm, can be a proper dragon commander on its own with flying and ward 2. Whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under our control, we can create a token copy of that dragon, except the token is not legendary should the original be legendary. This is incredibly powerful, especially since we're looking to get out dragons to achieve our win condition. Going back to the Call of the Spirit Dragon enchantment, since we can choose 1 dragon for each of the 5 colors, we can make a token copy of a multicolor dragon. We can choose one of that dragon's colors to count for one of the colors we're going through, and then another color for the next. Having a 3-color dragon like Miriam allows us extra flexibility, and while we will still need 5 dragons in play to end the game, we can utilize multicolor dragons to fill in for whatever colors that we might need. Colossal Grave Reaver has one of the cards that has inspired this deck. This mighty 7/6 has an enter and attack trigger similar to the Titans, milling us 3 cards. Whenever one or more creatures are put into the graveyard from our library, i.e. Scion, we put one of them onto the battlefield. Scion of the Dragon works stupendously well here, as the dragons sent to the graveyard can be brought back to the battlefield immediately, and Scion will still copy its ability. With this in play, Scion of the Dragon can basically tutor any dragon onto the battlefield for 2 mana and become a copy of it. Just be careful with your legendary dragons. Udvara Hellkite is one of our endgame dragons. Whenever a dragon we control attacks, we create a 6/6 red dragon creature token with flying. We can then swing out with multiple dragons and get dragon tokens to block any clapback. Urania of the Unwritten is one of the stronger dragon creatures in this deck, being a 7/7 with flying and trample. Whenever it enters or attacks, we look at the top 8 cards of our library, and we may put a dragon creature card from among them onto the battlefield. The rest go to the bottom of our library in a random order. 8 cards is a huge chunk of our deck, and so digging that deep will more than likely grab us a dragon. Tiamat, the dragon god, has a tremendous ability. If Tiamat enters and was cast, we can then tutor up to 5 differently named dragons to our hand. We have a card that we will talk about momentarily that will be a great follow-up to this ability, but if we are looking to get dragons of certain colors to our hand, this is a great option. The Dragon is touted as one of the best, if not the best, dragon commanders in the game. I entirely agree, though for the purposes of this deck, we did swap him into the 99 for Scion. We're still looking to do reanimation things, and while Dragon does help us ramp out these bulky, chunky dragons, he doesn't reanimate. His ability is still solid, letting us draw cards when our dragons attack, and letting us cheat a permanent into play. Lastly, Old Gnawbone creates us treasure tokens based on how much combat damage we deal to opponents. The bulk of our dragons are big and flying, meaning a lot of damage is coming at our opponents, and getting extra ramp just off of attacking is too good to pass up, and it's also one of the best green dragons. So now we have our dragons brewed, but we need ways to cheat them out. Our average dragon costs at least 5 mana, and we want to get multiple out. Dread Return reanimates a creature, and it has flashback cost that requires we sacrifice 3 creatures, so should we need to use it a second time, we have the option to do so for free, we just need a sacrifice. Living Death can be a game ender. Our deck likes to dump our best creatures into the graveyard. Should we be needing to close out the game, we can play this, which will essentially swap the creatures on all of our battlefields with all of the creatures in our graveyard. If we have huge dragons in the bin, they will fly once more. Patriarchs Bidding is a mass reanimation spell that allows each player to choose a creature type and then reanimate all creatures of one of the named types from their graveyard. We obviously will choose dragons and bring back all of our dragons. Now, of course, reanimate had to be in this list. Paying 2 mana to have Scion pitch a dragon to the graveyard is nice, but for 1 black mana, we can then bring back that dragon to the battlefield. Draco Genesis acts as an omniscience for dragon spells, and is 2 mana cheaper to play than omniscience, allowing us to begin dropping dragons into play without paying for any of their mana costs. If we tutored several dragons with something like, say, Tiamat, this will be a nightmare for our opponents. Let's circle around to that win condition one last time. Call of the Spirit Dragons wins us the game if we've put a +1/+1 counter onto 5 dragons with its effect, but only 14 dragons are in our deck. That seems like a bit of a tricky condition to meet. Maskwood Nexus, an artifact, comes in clutch, turning all of our creatures into dragons, and allowing us to tap 3, tap it, and create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with Changeling, making it part dragon. Our last section will cover a few niche ways to reanimate our dragons. Having multiple ways of bringing back our dragons will make sure that we have options available, even if the primary strategy of the deck may fail. Feldon of the Third Path has an ability where we may pay 3 mana, tap it, and create a token that's a copy of a target creature in our graveyard, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste and is then sacrificed at the beginning of the next end step. This is one of my favorite routes of reanimation, as the dragon remains in the graveyard, but we create a token copy of it that has haste. This can be done on our opponent's turn, so if we need a blocker, we can just hold up Feldon at the ready. Rivaz of the Claw is a mana dork for dragons, and allows us once per turn to cast a dragon creature spell from the graveyard. Those dragons that we cast from the graveyard are then exiled when they die, so in a sense, they get finality counters without it actually being finality counters. Tortured Existence lets us swap a creature from our hand with a creature card in our graveyard, making for a very simple, effective way to recycle our creatures. This can also work well with Draco Genesis, letting us return dragons that we might have pitched with Scion to then play for free from our hand. See, this also works around one of the biggest downsides in dragon decks in the dragons themselves having pretty chunky mana values. I think Scion of the Dragon has quite a bit of fight left in him despite many commander players looking to the Dragon for their dragon decks. Tarkir Dragonstorm brought a great many new dragons to the scene, and there is a great deal of flexibility in what dragons you can include in your own lists. If you have a favorite that we didn't include, you can absolutely swap one out to make room. I will include a link in the description of this video to the Maskwood page for this deck. If you liked it, likes and shares on this video are always greatly appreciated, and as always, I'll catch you all next time.